Hello all, and welcome to tonight's review, which I am dubbing just another hot, humid Hawaiian night review. There's a remnants of a tropical storm sort of floating around the island, so everything's really hot and humid and muggy right now, and I got a headache, as I usually do when humidity hits a certain level and there's no wind around. But I'm going to be drinking beer anyway, because that's how I roll, yo. And what am I going to be drinking? Well, something special tonight. What we have here is Ayinger. There we go. Now you can see the label. Ayinger Oktoberfest Marzen. Ayinger, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is of course German brewery out of Bavaria here. Yeah. And this is 5.8 ABV. Let's read the back label, shall we? Excuse me. Amber-colored, rich, full-bodied, Ayinger at the foot of the Bavarian Alps is one of the world's most respected breweries, family-owned and operated since 1878. So this is one of the traditional Bavarian-style Oktoberfest/Marzens, you know. Becoming one of my favorite styles as I evolve beyond IPAs. I've just kind of gotten worn out of super hoppy beers. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be reviewing them anymore since they come as part of box sets so often, but I'm just looking for things that are not so heavy in alcohol and things that are sort of, you know, more delicate, more nuanced in flavor, and something like this, you know, where it's going to be pretty much malt forward. So this is a pint, a little over a pint of beer. So we're going to be using our big glass today and not giving it too big of a pour. Haven't had a chance to go and preview this because they're only selling it by the single bottle. Ooh. Uh-oh. That was close. Malty, almost very white bread-like malts there. Floral hops. And a beer smell that I come to sort of associate with German beers. Let's go and pour the rest of that in. Top off that head. Thick, off-white head. Kind of thin just because of the way I poured it, because so much. I want to get it all into the glass. Perfect Oktoberfest color. Basically a golden yellow to amber color. Not super carbonated. Has that sort of honeyed smell that I've come to associate with imported lagers from Germany. And I am kind of disappointed. Which is strange because this has such high reviews. I'm kind of wondering if this sat out too long in the heat or something. Why am I disappointed? Well, it's just great in the front. I'm getting all those wonderful Oktoberfest flavors. That, you know, big juicy malt there. Not like fruit juicy, but just mouth-watering kind of taste there. Kind of associate with fresh baked bread. The honey smell kind of comes up in the taste too, and I'm making that honey movement. Honey is definitely in front to mids. It almost is like, you know, somebody put honey on some fresh baked bread. And the hops show up there too. A bit stronger hops than I would typically associate with the American Marzen styles I've had. Well, somewhat. Gordon Biersch Fest beer has also got a bit of a stiffer malt backing to it. Excuse me, hop backing. There's that noble hop bitterness in the front to the mids. It also lasts into the finish. Still finishes fairly clean. Why do I say disappointing? Well, for some reason, there's a kind of tinny after finish there. Sort of like an off note. Though honestly, I don't taste it anymore. It was just that first initial one. It's still there a little bit, but not as strong as when I first had it. I don't think it's palate fatigue, because as you can see, I barely drank any of it so far. But still there, kind of hanging around the finish, sort of a metallic thing. Sort of a metallic off note, very slight metallic off note in the finish. Which, given the reviews that this has had... Wait a minute. Ah, I see why. Green bottle. Looks black, but is actually green. So, probably a little bit light struck. When I got this, it was sitting out under the main store lights. Again, this kind of goes and shows something I've discussed in previous reviews, the importance of correct storage. What we have here is pretty damn good Oktoberfest Marzen. Again, a bit more hopped than you see in American takes on the style, but still well within standard guidelines. And in fact, I'm kind of enjoying it. You know, a bit more stiffly hopped with that noble hops there. It cleans the palate a little bit better. Just a slight off note in the finish that is, you know, dissipating as it warms up. In fact, I can barely sense it now. It was quite shocking in the beginning because, you know, like I said, it was like, whoa. There's a big slap in the finish there. It's like, wow, this is really, because, you know, it tasted like aluminum can taste, which, you know, one interesting fact about beer, that sort of canned metallic taste has very little to do with the fact it's been in a can and is sort of, you know, a chemical off note. Oddly enough, for the big taste, big bready taste, kind of light on the mouth and light on carbonation. Light on the mouthfeel, light on carbonation. I definitely would go and drink this again. One, because I want to go and see if I can get one that that isn't maybe a little bit light struck or heat struck. And one, there's very good Marzen style, Oktoberfest style beer underneath there. It sort of behooves people to go and try the traditional German breweries' releases against the American interpretations. As often, they are quite disparate. And not as disparate as more traditional English style. As you know, English India Pale Ale and American India Pale Ale are just two completely separate entities now, to the point where they're categorized separately. Same with Pale Ales and many other English styles. But it's also true and apparent in American takes off of German styles as well. Kind of wish I had something to eat with this, you know, a nice plate of Wiener Schnitzel and German potato salad. German beers go very well with food, I find. It's actually really interesting to me that lagers tend to pair a lot better with food than ales do, in my opinion. Particularly, or very hoppy ales. I'm definitely enjoying this, particularly now as it's warmed up. Metallic aftertaste is completely gone. Wasn't that strong to begin with, honestly, except for that first initial blast there. I am, despite the fact that I started this review off saying, ugh, because it just hit me so intensely, I'm really hesitant to go and say that this is a bad beer, you should avoid it. No, you should definitely go and try it. I think it has more, and I'm theorizing it has more to do with the storage and portage conditions of this beer than anything else. And otherwise, it's a great example of a traditional German style that is well worth visiting. Speaking of visiting, I'd like to go to, an Oktoberfest style feast. I'd like to go to the Oktoberfest period in Bavaria, which sounds like a great dream for me, except for the fact that everyone's pissing into a gigantic grate, I hear, which sounds like a nightmare for me because I have a shy bladder. So, I'm kind of ranting on, and I got actually another review to go and record tomorrow night. I picked up 2 different things. So, Ayinger, Oktoberfest Marzen. Great example of a traditional German style. Be careful on making sure that, especially with these imported beers, that you check date and you're at least conscious and aware of storage conditions. German beers are a bit more fragile than others, I find, because they are lagers and not heavily hopped. So, give it a shot sometime, especially if you're at a Wiener Schnitzel and German Potato Salad Fest. That's your beer review for tonight, folks. Prost.